Hey everybody, I am so far behind I don't even have time to make a joke, so let's just do this. Hey everybody, welcome to week 5. Week 5 is the last full week of our summer session. After that, we're going to have a short week 6 that ends on Thursday, which is the last day of the class. What that means for you is that all of our week 5 assignments aren't going to have a full 1 week grace period. And that's because they're going to, the class is going to end on a Thursday. So you sort of have a, 4-day grace period. Regardless, next week is a short week. We are not going to have any discussions. So this week will be our last discussion. There'll be no more chapter quizzes. We've covered all 9 chapters. So these are our last chapter quizzes. Next week, we're just going to focus on 2 things. The practical exam for PowerPoint and your final exam for all of the chapters that we've covered. Now, even though there's only 2 things to do next week is only 4 days long. And so because of that, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to make those 2 items, the practical exam for PowerPoint, actually the practical exam for PowerPoint is already available because I kind of did that thing where you can access stuff early in summer. But the final exam I will make available this weekend. All right, so you should see it pop up Friday night, midnight, Friday night, 11:59 p.m. And so you'll have it both Saturday and Sunday. I do that because I know a lot of people get into a particular rhythm with their summer courses or any course for that matter. And some of you just don't have time during the week. If you're working full-time, you've got a lot of responsibilities, you may just not be able to handle that, and you sort of depend on those Saturdays and Sundays to do your work. So because of that, week 6 assignments, both the practical exam for PowerPoint and the final exam are going to be made available starting this weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, you'll have access to everything for the course. That being said, I'm not going to talk about those 2 things because they will get their own separate video for the final week. So instead, let's talk about what we're doing this week. This week, we're covering chapters 8 and 9. 8 is all about digital devices, something I'm sure you know a lot about. What can I say? The idea of a computer as some big thing that sits on your desk is kind of gone. Most people don't even buy those computers anymore. Laptops are sort of the replacement for a desktop, and a lot of people, the computer, the most valuable computer you own is the one you already have on you, and chances are that's the smartphone in your pocket. So chapter 8, all about digital devices. Hopefully you find it entertaining. Chapter 9 is all about security. Kind of like we said last week, networking is a really big topic in terms of career choice. Security goes right along with that. I've attended the RSA conference for a couple years. It's a huge conference in San Francisco, a lot of security companies there. The country of Ireland was there just trying to recruit people to move to Ireland to take jobs because they need people who are experts in security. Security is a huge topic. It's becoming more and more of a huge topic. And just look at the news. I don't have to convince you of this, right? So many companies have had data breaches. It's a really big thing. And so if you're going into networking, even if you're going into programming, which is something we don't talk a lot about in CIT 12, unfortunately. Chapter 10, we'd kind of go into it, but we don't cover that chapter. So regardless, CIT 15, we talk about programming. Any technology-related career, whatever it is you choose, security is going to play a role in that. We just had an advisory meeting, and some of the people from Fresno County said, hey, the security guys, they have a seat at every table, and they're a part of every decision-making process because security is just that important. People are worried about their privacy. They're worried about data breaches. They're worried about cyber terrorism. It gets as mundane or as scary as you want it to get. So anyway, definitely look at chapter 9. And as usual, there will be quizzes on both of those chapters. Your discussion this week is going to get a little bit practical, a little less esoteric. What I want you to do is look at a couple resources. One is a website called Have I Been Pwned? Yes, I understand, it's a terrible name. Pwning is a gamer term, kind of means that I've owned you based on a misspelling. You don't need to know about the whole thing. Point being, Have I Been Pwned is a website that will essentially allow you to put in an email address, and it will look at data dumps. So often when there's a data breach of some sort, hackers have egos, right? They like to brag, and they often put this information somewhere for people to find. That's often how we find out about data. Well, hopefully it's not how we find out about data breaches, because that should happen way at the end. Most companies should know when they've been breached, and they should know exactly what was exfiltrated from their servers. But that's a side topic. Point being, they dump this data. And so this company essentially goes through, or this organization, it's a nonprofit, goes through and looks at all of these data dumps to determine what accounts have been affected. The idea is that you can then just put in your email address and it will search all of the data dumps for all of the major data breaches that have happened recently and tell you if you've been the victim of a data breach. Lots of companies, from Target to Staples to you name it, have had data breaches. And so if you have accounts associated with those companies, your information may have gotten out. We don't know what information. Well, actually, sometimes we do. And that website can tell you, hopefully, what was taken. So you know, do I really need to go and change my password on every website? Because my password has been, has been put out there and now is part of a dictionary so that it takes 2 seconds to crack. Needless to say, it's good to know if you've been the victim of a data breach. Have I Been Pwned can help you with that. There's actually a video in the discussion post that'll tell you how to use all of these different sources. And the next source I want you to take a look at is howsecureismypassword.net. How Secure Is My Password is a really simple site. All you do is you type in a password and it tells you how long it would take using a standard desktop computer using, I'm going to say off the shelf. I'm not going to discuss with you where you find brute force hacking tools, but with networking students, we often discuss these things. If you're teaching people to be locksmiths, you have to teach them how to pick locks. Anyway, point being, there is stuff out there. It's very easy. Any child could download this. And point being, with one of these simple programs and a basic computer, how long would it take to brute force crack your password? When I say brute force crack, what I mean is just trying every known password from a known password dictionary, which if your password was breached, see the first part, your password is probably in one of those dictionaries. So you check all those first, and then you should, or then the software checks for every word in the dictionary, every word in the dictionary spelled backwards, every word in the dictionary with a 1 at the end of it, every word in the dictionary with leet speak, which is essentially just taking numbers that kind of look like letters and replacing the letters with those numbers. Like my last name in leet speak might be B4K3R. And if you don't understand, just write it down. You'll kind of see what it looks like. Point being, there's a number of things that they check for. And then they just start checking every random set of characters until they can get to your password. So the idea is you type in your password. By the way, the company's trustworthy, or the organization's trustworthy. Don't worry about typing your password in. It doesn't get saved or anything. They essentially just tell you how long it would take. For most people in America, it would take a few seconds. The vast majority of Americans use the same 100 passwords. It's sad. It is sad the number of people who use the password. The most popular password in America, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? If you are using either of these passwords, nothing that you do online is safe. So just know that. Everything is protected by passwords. Your bank accounts, the pictures that you take of your children, everything is using passwords to secure it. And it's not a great system, by the way. Computer scientists are working really hard to find better systems. And you're beginning to see some of those come through. Fingerprints, retina scans, all sorts of stuff. But needless to say, online at this point, it's still password. So if you're using a bad password, which this website will tell you if you're using a bad password, change it, please. It's one of the last things that you can do to protect yourself from people who want to get access to your data. So anyway, howsecureismypassword.net will tell you how secure your password is. And the last little bit is just a program called 1Password. There are versions of that, and I mentioned it in the video that shows you how to use all the 3 resources. It's built into the operating system for Mac OS. I believe it's built into the operating system now in Windows 10. They will keep essentially a keychain of all your passwords and suggest passwords. And the idea is that if the computer is storing your passwords for you, it can come up with incredibly complex passwords that are pretty much unbreakable even by a supercomputer. And the idea is that you do that, and so then you only have to remember your one password, the password that unlocks all your other passwords. But if a company gets breached, right, you have a different password for every single company out there. So one password goes away, no problem. If they break into your Facebook account, they're not going to be able to get into your bank account, right? That's the idea. You want to have separate passwords for different companies. And so anyway, take a look at the video to show you how to use all those three things. Your discussion is really actually pretty simple. You just start out with, have you been the victim of a data breach? By the way, that is optional. You do not have to share if you've been the victim of a data breach. And in the video I mentioned there are some sensitive sites where you'd actually have to register with have I been pwned? Definitely don't tell us about that. And also, how secure is your password? Are you one of the people that needs to change their password this week? The passwords for all of their sites. And you can decide, do you care about Twitter? Getting your Twitter account hacked is not fun. It could certainly be bad if you were somebody who had a lot of followers and you were of some importance, right? But for the vast majority of us, who cares? Regardless, you should still back up your password, and also make sure that your passwords are different for different types of things. Don't use your bank account password for Twitter. It's much more likely your Twitter is going to get hacked. And when that happens, you don't want people to then have access to your other more important accounts. So take a look at the discussion prompt. It's all about security in a really practical way, since for the average person, like, the way you can secure yourself online is by choosing a good password. So yeah, check out the sites and tell us if you're in need of a change. And then lastly, in my IT lab, we have the 3 labs for PowerPoint. Most people say that these are the easiest labs of the entire semester, the entire course. So go in there, check them out. Hopefully it won't take you too long. And remember, practical exam next week, but it's a short week. So if you want, just bleed it right in and move straight on to the practical exam right after you've done the labs, all right? So that's my IT lab. That's what we're doing this week. You're gonna get another video a little bit early because, like I said, we're gonna have that weekend release of the last 2 things. So yeah, have fun. I'll see you online.